pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is approval of the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Next item is approval of the bills. Andy, anything unusual on that?
Move to approve the bills.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the bills. Any further discussion?
There's a few on the higher list.
Okay. Okay, roll call.
Brown,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Lightline.
Aye.
Britt,
Aye.
Wakefield.
Aye. Next item is financial reports.
I'd move to approve as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the financial reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Treasurer's checks.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the treasurer's checks. Treasurer's checks. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Move on to approval of the agenda. Do we need to make any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I'd like to add Sheriff Nelson on, cost for some computer equipment.
Okay, can we put that under new business or would you prefer it?
Either way, it's fine.
Okay. Put that under new business then. Any other additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the amended agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Ramsey County Fair Board, strength ND. Should we come back to you? We're a few minutes
Waiting for
early,
someone?
so.
Yeah, I wonder if you said Dennis Lee's maybe also.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
She's in a.
then if that's all right, we'll just come back to you guys. Perfect. And let's go to Susie.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for having me today. I apologize, I meant to get here in February, but my schedules for Tuesdays just got a little hectic, so I'm here today. But I did present you guys a packet of our information for our fiscal year, which was October through September of the previous year. I'm not going to go over everything, but if you have any questions, please let me know. One thing I do want to point out for our 2021 tax collections, our fiscal year for the city collections were up over $42,000 compared to the previous year in 2020. So I have to give a lot of credit to all of our tourism entities and businesses in the Lake region. We became a kind of a destination over COVID for a great place for families or people to come as a destination that they felt safe and were still able to take in their travels and their fishing and what have you. So it really sustained us over the last couple of years. Our fiscal year for tax collections for the county showed at $88,506. So we didn't know coming into the county lodging and restaurant tax where we were going to be at for the year. So I was pleasantly surprised with where those tax collections are coming in to really help us out with our marketing efforts. We hit over 2 million views on our Google photo submissions. And what that means is we've been working with a photographer and a videographer the last few years to collect various photos and videos throughout the Lake region. Kind of on a yearly basis. They come 2, maybe 3 times a year for different activities and functions. And so we've been sharing those across the platform with all of our partners. And so, for instance, the Lake Region Heritage Center, when we go in and do some photos for them, we'll go in and share those on their Google page. So when people go and search either Devil's Lake or the Lake Region Heritage Center or any of our restaurants, those photos will pop up and appear. So that's where those 2 million views are coming in. We should hit more here soon, as I will be putting in about a year's worth of photography that I need to catch up on for all of our businesses. We've hosted some small media events throughout this previous year, and we were able to hit the Bismarck and Fargo sports shows last year. And this year we were able to head over to Madison, and we did Minot and also the St. Paul Ice Fishing Show. So we're back on track a little bit as far as those travel shows go. We will be watching those closely as the attendance seems to be dropping on those. So we'll probably rethink some strategies here for next year. We didn't print the visitor guide for 2021. We had about 17,000 copies still from the previous year for those. And so we tried to be a little bit more strategic and be more wise with our money. And so we updated the visitor guide online for our online version and then just handed out the old versions for the visitor guide. But we did print new for this year for 2022, and that's in your packet as well. But we have been seeing a trend where more people are downloading the visitor guide online anyway, versus either requesting one or taking one in hand. So we didn't think it was that big of a deal. We've produced some itinerary videos that we are working on, and you'll find those on our website under things to do. There's 4 different itinerary videos that we're using to highlight, and we're just pushing those out now. There are family activities, history, a couples night out, and a couple other things. We'll have a winter one coming up. And then they're also going to produce with all the content, a living in Devil's Lake one to kind of highlight living here and trying to get those people here relocating. And speaking of that, this summer, we're going to work on a new relocation packet that will tie in well with our visitor packet and visitor guide to try and help with those relocating and moving into our area. The trends on our website continue to view more towards the mobile-friendly users on our website. This year, we trended at 49% of our website users are mobile traffic, which just goes to show us that people are either using their phones more while they're sitting at home, or they're utilizing our website more while they're here, more boots on the ground. So we've really tried to play up more content as far as what's happening now. So we're utilizing a blog writer to showcase just some different things in the area and giving people more of an idea of things to do while they're here, which is why we've really been pushing the community event calendar out to the public to try and get them to utilize that. We also had over 366,000 page views on our website. So that's another part of the traffic that we look at and grow. Media's gotten really tricky. There's so many different places you can dabble in and places you need to be these days. You know, when I first started this job 12 years ago, really it was all about TV and print. And so now it's everything. It's TV, it's print, it's digital, it's connected TV, which isn't just cable TV, but it's cable for people that are on like Hulu or Netflix or things like that. So we've really tried to be a little bit more strategic without those marketing efforts. And I have that mixed for you on starting on page 20. So you can just see where our marketing dollars are going to and where we're tracking and where we're trending. We've had some pretty cool people here in town. We had Meat Eaters, which is a Netflix show that came out this winter to do some filming. I don't know when that's going to air, but they have millions of viewers and they really take the show to a different level. It's not just about hunting, it's not just about fishing, but they come in and kind of talk about the hunt or the kill, so to say. But then they take it and they use all of the meat that they've harvested and show some different cool cooking techniques and things like that. So I'm assuming that'll air sometime next fall. We've worked with Field and Stream. He was going to come here with boots on the ground, but we just worked with him virtually, so something will be airing there. And then we had Cabela's Bass Pro Shops here this winter through the Cabela's credit card holders. They're able to book trips through their credit card, and this was the first ice fishing destination that they decided to do, and they picked Devil's Lake, and so it was kind of cool to be a part of that. People basically bought a whole trip, including all their gear, and I think half of them rebooked to come back on their own again, so that was another kind of cool thing. And then our visitor committee is working through our next 3-year strategic plan. We had one through 2022, so now we'll work on our strategic plan for 23 through 26. And then lastly, really quick, I did put a chart packet of information for you. We signed on with a company this past year called Datify, which gives us a little bit of research and a little bit of data. To date, all we've really been working on is, or working from, is all of the website traffic that we see. We can see, you know, where people are coming in and viewing everything on our website, but we really didn't know if those numbers were true and if those people were coming. So this company breaks down a sampling of GPS data of people that are here, as well as credit card spending. And so I'm not going to go over all of this. Like I said, if you have any questions, please let me know. But just so you know what you're looking at, this first page, it breaks down visitation by in-state visitors and out-of-state visitors. So 2022 will look a little low because even though it says that it's an annual report, that's really year-to-date since we're just in 2022 now. But the trends for 2021 through 2018 are on here as far as our visitor traffic. If the numbers are going to look skewed, I just want everybody to know that going into it. It's all GPS geofenced in the area, and some of it is overlapping. So we've geofenced the lake, for instance, but some of the resorts might be tailored around the lake, and we've got the city GPS, but there's some different hotels that are in the city limits and things like that. So the numbers will look slightly skewed and a little bit larger than they really are because some of those people might be counted twice, but we really use it as an overall scale to see where we're at and how we're doing from year to year. Another one I want to just quickly point out is we also track our traffic and our trends. So we've got our daily visitors spend by year, and so we really traffic that and highlight it to see how our trends are going. And you'll see a dip in 2021 slightly, but I think that has to do more so with COVID. And then lastly, towards the back, just some things that we've been doing as far as our spend goes and our traffic here. We worked with the fire department to get them some rough estimates as far as the economic impact goes for the ice fishing tournament. So we were able to break down those 3 days in January for 2019 through 2021. Can't seem to find it in the packet here. But it showed what the economic impact was. It was canceled last year because of ice conditions, but really it shows, and it's just visitors that are over 50 miles or more. So it's not taking account those coming over from Dakota, can do things like that, but it's over $1 million of economic impact just for those 3 days, not having to do with any of the ticket sales or anything like that, but just the visitors coming into the area and spending money. So as soon as we have that spending data for 2022, we'll add that into the mix as well. And another thing that we were able to do was work with the park board and the Fort Totten Little Theater. They're trying to solicit some grant funding, or they did solicit some grant funding for the new building that they want to put up. So we were able to pull some GPS data as far as the traffic goes in Roosevelt Park for the month of July. And granted, there's a couple other events like Rib Fest that have grown as well in that month. But we were able to establish that since the Fort Totten Little Theater has moved into Roosevelt Park, the traffic has quadrupled in the park for the month of July, which has a lot to do with Fort Totten Little Theater. So just some of the ways that we're helping some of our entities in the Lake region to garner some of those grants and stuff. So I don't want to bore you if you go on with statistics, but if you have any questions on anything, please let me know. Please ask.
Things are going well now.
They are going well. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, we have a natural destination as far as our hunting and fishing goes, and really as the state was declining for a couple of years because of sports not taking place and meetings not taking place, we were able to stabilize and thrive a little bit here, which is nice for our economy.
I don't see anybody hunting snowies this spring.
I saw some yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of trucks, but about it. All right.
Anything else for Susie? Thank you so much.
Yep,
Very
thank you.
informative.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, very good report. Thank you.
Okay, Okay, is the fair board ready this time?
She's on.
Does she come up on the screen?
You should be able to hear us.
Can she talk to us?
If she unmutes herself.
There we go.
Here we go.
You might want to talk to her.
Yep. Megan?
Hi, this is Megan. I'm here.
Great, we'll get started. Elvina at the center was going to lead us today.
The Fair Board is here today to give you an update on what we've been working on. Our vision is to build a building out at the fairgrounds. And that building would be 150 by 250. It would be a building that would be utilized for many different things in the community. It would be 4-H, archery, livestock shows, horse shows, other events like that. We've done a lot of thinking about this, and Megan has put together a list of different things that could work in the building and grow activities for the Fair Board and for the community out there. This would actually be phase 2 of the Fair Board's planning for the fairgrounds. We started out with the building that we have out there about 15 years ago and got a loan and got that building going. And now we realize that that building is not big enough for all the activities that want to happen out there. So we're looking at phase 2, which is this new building that we're building. And there possibly could be endless activities as far as youth activities, different horse-related activities, livestock shows out there, youth shows. And one of the big things is the archery program. Right now, their space that they have that they can practice in is very small, so that would be a plus for them to be able to use a bigger building for their shooting practice. Megan, I'll let you give the details of this.
Sure. So you all should have in front of you a document that's basically just a project summary of what the Ramsey County Fair Foundation would like to see or would propose as a multi-purpose event center. So when we're looking at a facility like this, it is something that could impact multiple facets of the community, whether it be supporting locals with the activities that are already being undertaken, horse shows or wrestling practice or archery. It could also be used for different economic development purposes, whether it be supporting the local visitors bureau with as a site to host different events. It's a space that it seems there's a large need for it, both through some qualitative data that has been collected as well as some quantitative data. And thinking just some considerations moving forward with the facility is there still needs to be some additional conversations around staffing and how rentals would exactly, the process for the rentals and how they would exactly take place. But it does seem to be something that has a high potential for the community. It would be kind of a nonprofit with an earned revenue model. And it seems like something that could really boost activities here in the region.
In the packet, there's 3 pages of potential events that we've come up with that we think we could host at a building like this. The biggest being the 4-H activity that takes place out there. At the present time, we have to rent storage space to house the pens and things that we use for 4-H. With this building, we'd be able to have a space in there that would take care of that. There's endless things that could be done in the building. Yes, the only limitations would be our imagination on things that we could host there. And there is a lot of requests for different things out there all the time, so I think it would be a good investment for the community. And this isn't something that we just thought up overnight. We've had a lot of years of planning for this. We probably have talked about this and talked about how to get this to happen for about the last 10 years and have tried to look at different areas that we could get funding for it. And that's why we partnered with Strength in North Dakota and Megan. So we would have the expertise of that to be able to go forward with the project. We would like the support of the county commission.
Do you have a specific ask? I mean, like in terms of dollar amount?
Dennis Gleason gave us a projected turnkey building would be $2.3 million to build it. We were looking at just getting the shell of the building up, and then going forward, we would make the other adjustments and improvements to it.
You're gonna insulate the building?
We would have to insulate the building because we would want to have winter activities in there. It's basically our summers in North Dakota are 3 months, and then the weather starts getting nasty and we can't do things.
Do you have a 501c number, nonprofit number? Do you have one of them? That the
Yes.
Fair Board can do?
The Ramsey County Fair Foundation does. A lot of the grants that are available wouldn't be available if we didn't have that status.
Has Megan been working as far as grants?
Yes, she's looking into the Otto Bremer Foundation grant right now. And she's told us that we fit into that, what they require to get a grant. So what we're trying to do here with a community building, and it's going to support youth and other things in the community.
So with her working on the grant, she just hasn't been able to come up with a number because it's one of those, they want to make sure that we get buy-in.
I think it's quite a process to go through. There's several steps that you go through to work into the grant process. And Otto Bremer has committees that review each phase of the grant application, and then you move on from there.
If you had the dollar, how soon could the project be started, and do you have a start or a completion date that you'd be looking at?
Well, if we had the dollars, we would try to get it started this spring.
Okay.
And Gleason had the room to fit you in on this, right?
I think he does. Any other questions from anyone?
What other avenues do you have to raise money?
We're going to do a drive where we're going to send out letters to the past 4-H alumni and ask them for support for that. And then we will probably also ask businesses to support.
And then that's where that foundation comes into effect, where, so they can get a deduction.
Correct.
Excuse me, how much money does the Fair Board Foundation have in it currently that could be put towards the project, just out of curiosity's sake?
I think around $61,000.
So you have a little bit of a start then, not huge, but. And the other question I would have is what, we rent the tents and everything every year, what kind of costs is there involved with that?
Renting the tents is quite expensive. It's been like over $2,400, and when we've had 2 big tents, it was close to $5,000.
With a setup fee of $1,000. The only reason I know that's because the wrestling club set them up and took them down.
Last year it was right around $6,000.
Okay.
Is there more than one grant that you're going after?
Yes.
Is she favorable that there will be more than the one you're looking at with Bremer?
Yes.
Megan, are you able to hear the questions in regard to what you're finding for information about grants that are available?
Yeah. So thinking through the kind of the grant making geography that we're in, there are some limitations because of the type of project that it is a capital project, that it is something more on the community development side, but there are a few potential opportunities. I do think it would be difficult to get the project 100% funded through charitable grants. So I think in the Ramsey County Fair Board is already being proactive in looking at raising individual dollars or dollars from individuals. But I do think there might be opportunities through USDA Rural Development if they bring a few programs back. It might fall under the Community Facilities Fund grant and loan program. I still need to do a little bit more research, but it definitely fits Otto Bremer Trust. And we're trying to look for other grant programs that have this type of focus and allow for capital.
So with the grants that you have looked into, like with probably other things that you have done over the years, what kind of funding have you found for other foundations as far as money? Like just a rough estimate, I'm not gonna hold you to anything, but what kind of estimate?
In total grants for other organizations that we found, it's probably in excess of $5 million.
But I'm talking like grants, like projects for like this. Are we looking at 500,000, $1 million? What do you think is a possibility?
Oh, the possibility specifically for this project? I think if we were able to get $250,000 or $300,000 from grants for this project, I think we would be doing pretty well. Again, because of the kind of geography, a lot of grant makers fund in a particular region, and there's just not a ton that specifically cover Ramsey County. I think a doable goal for this specific project when it comes to charitable grants would be $250,000, $300,000. I think that would be a reasonable goal.
Okay, thank you.
What other avenues do you know of, Megan?
For funds for these types of projects, obviously government investment. I know there are quite a few communities that are looking at the ARPA dollars and how those might be spent to maximize benefits or to maximize facilities in communities. So that's something that I know that could or should be looked at. I think the individual giving side, the letter out to all of the 4-H or past 4-H members is a really good start. With any capital campaign, it's going to rely on a few individuals or a few places giving large amounts of money, and then a lot of other individuals and organizations giving just a little bit of money. So if we can secure, 4, 5, 6 large gifts that can get the project rolling, it should be something that is very doable, very achievable.
Do you have any idea on annual operation maintenance of the building, and do we have enough events that could potentially cover that cost to maintain the building?
We are projecting that we will have enough events that it should take care of the monthly expenses and upkeep on the building with the events that we think we can have in the building.
Are we on Nodak out there or Otter Tail? Anybody know?
Nodak.
Or Nodak? Okay. I think it'd be a good idea for the fair board to look at Nodak or ask them, what the projected costs are on the lights. Keep the lights on and keep it warm. Like we're gonna use electric heat. Is that heat source?
MDU.
Propane, MDU.
We've had some discussion about getting MDU out there
Okay.
to heat the building because propane would be really expensive.
Really expensive. How far away is MDU? Anybody know?
Across the road.
Across the road. $5.
It's all set at 19.
Yep. Last time I got a quote, it was roughly $20,000 to put MDU in there. But that was for the small building. If you have a larger facility,
It's gonna be pretty large.
Yeah.
yep, the larger the facility, the larger the furnace was what drops the cost.
Let them put a big board up on the wall if they want. That'd be a good trade.
You can put their name on the outside of the building. Again, how about they give us some money and we'll let them service the building?
I mean,
Either way.
I never pursued it as, when it was gonna be a large community, project like this.
Right.
If there was any grant that they could get.
Right. Well, I think that's a couple things we should definitely look into.
Yeah, we have a lot of things that we need to discuss along the way, and I'm sure that as we go, the plan will change a little bit, get molded into exactly what we want to have up there before.
Well, I personally think putting some of the ARPA money in this project is very beneficial to the community. Very beneficial. Ramsey County has never had their own fair board building. Never had.
Yeah.
You go to any other county in the surrounding area and they have one. Whether it's big, small, or whatever it is, but they have their own fair building.
There's a lot of communities that are a lot smaller than Ramsey County that have pretty impressive things.
Go out to Underwood, to their fair. Holy smokes. Unbelievable how many people are down there. And it's an assortment of buildings, old, new, everything.
I think the community benefits and the potential of this building are enormous. I think it's something that's greatly needed within our community, and I think Commissioner Brown's exactly right. I think be a good expenditure of some of our ARPA funds for this project. Obviously we don't have enough to completely fully fund the thing, and that's where the fair board would have to come into play for whether it be seeking grants or financing for the remainder of it. And but I think that we'd be open up to supporting this at certainly some level.
Yeah.
I think as a fair board, we should push forward as far as seeing what kind of support we can get from the communities, what kind of funds we can get from the community, see where this grant goes with Megan, and move on from there.
And Megan, is there any restrictions to any of the grants that if we have something in place that would disqualify the foundation from receiving a grant. I think that's one of the things that we ran into on the previous building when we were seeking an auto grammar grant was we already had some work completed.
We had funding in place for it, and then we were disqualified from getting the grant because of that.
I can't think of any restrictions or anything that might compromise funding right off the top of my head. The Otterburmer Trust has changed the way that they have done their grant making in the last 12 to 18 months, where you have to have a conversation first with a program officer, kind of give them a little bit of a rundown of what you're hoping to see or what you're hoping to achieve, and then they give you somewhat of a go or no go. So when we have that conversation, we'll have a lot more information to bring back as far as the likelihood of funding or whether they might look upon this favorably. I think if we lean into their pillar of community building and their first pillar of community building and their second pillar of healthy and vibrant citizens, that we can definitely make a really strong case. And certainly they're a foundation that if there's commitment from the community to support the particular project, they're more likely to jump in, which is why it's so great that the Fair Foundation is already looking at those individual gifts and potentially ARPA dollars.
Megan, do you have any other suggestions that the Fair Board should proceed with, other than what we have said, to try to get funding?
I think we can look, as we dive more deeply into the business plan side of it, and we look at specifically what type of events, not that we don't already have a comprehensive list, but what type of equipment is needed for what type of events. I can think about equine therapy. If we find a provider and we're able to say, gosh, we need X, Y, and Z to outfit the building for equine therapy, then we can look more specifically at funders who fund that particular niche at that kind of price point. So the more information we get, the little bit farther down the line we go. We should be able to find more dollars, but they'll likely be those smaller grant dollars. So there's definitely potential as we pull together more information.
Thank you.
Some of the potential events that you have listed in the presentation or the packet would be spectator type of events. Is there enough room within the building for spectators?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
And 150 by 250 is a pretty big building, so it should be adequate space. That was going to be one of my questions. Is say we, you go out, we get a grant, we do the fundraising, and we still aren't going to get to $2.3 million, but say we can get to 1.75 or something. Is 150 by 250? Is that the set structure size we have to do? Is there up or down? It'll be down in that situation where you can make the building smaller, just out of curiosity's sake. I know this is what we want, but just like everything, wants and aren't always what you get.
We need the width of it.
You need the width.
Yeah. Pretty much to do some of the 4-H events that we have to do, like to set a pole pattern would be 21 feet times 8, whatever that would come out to be.
So yeah, we need the 150. Okay, question answered. So this is what we have to shoot for then. Let's go fundraise.
Well, the thing that we found with the building that is out there already, we went around and around about the size that we were going to build that building, and we were conservative and we went for smaller rather than bigger. And now I don't know how many times we've heard over the years, well, if this building was just a little bit bigger, then there would be more opportunities to have different things.
And that building's been completely funded through the Fair Board, and that you're financing through the mortgage that you have and the mill levy that you received from the county.
Yes, it has been.
And there's, what, 2 years left on that?
Yes,
I-
that's what we talked about.
Yeah,
I thought it was a 24 maturity.
yeah, it is. It matures in 24.
So what portion of the mill levy goes to paying for the building right now? How much is the payment every year?
The payment's $20,000 a year, but we've been able to pay more for
Okay.
different years, just so we can have other projects.
I'm just wrapping my head around the concept of, if, you're projecting that you're gonna have enough, events in this building to pay for operations and maintenance, but some of that month, the mill levy dollars will be freed up once that building is paid for, that you'll have some wiggle room to be able to pay for O&M then too, so.
Yep.
And then this building is attached to the old building, so it's not like we wouldn't be able to, like if there was a wedding event, because sometimes I know the old building is too small, but even if there was something where they could pull a petition like they do in the gyms now, where it's just you pull it across, where it doesn't take up any space. Granted, I know that costs money, but that's the things that, like Megan said, that we have to have in. Just so that if you're renting it out, you don't have to rent out 150 by 200. You can pull petition cord away across, and now this is what your cost is for renting this. Things like that. We had talked about that.
This is a much smaller question, but with a 38,000 square foot building, you could have a lot of spectators in there. Do you feel that bathrooms that, exist for four men and 4 women are enough? Is that a significant enough bathroom facilities for that number of potential people?
They have the existing in there already too.
Yeah.
Okay, up front, there's, 3 and 3. I believe that's why Gleason has it like it is, because there is already existing and it's tied together. Yeah, because I had asked him that question.
If anyone's been to Bowman, North Dakota, they have a building very similar to this. This is someone based off of naval facility or huge events.
Who has that then? County?
It's a county building, I
County.
believe, or it's in the,
County?
Yeah.
it's at their fairgrounds there.
One side of the building has bleachers on it, on a cement slab. The bleachers are the kind that push back
Like
and,
the high school has.
yeah.
Yeah, if we go butchers, I'd definitely look into that.
Well, and I think eventually
Easier to clean.
we would look to be putting bleachers in there for different events that would be hosted in there. Because you need to have a place for spectators to be.
And as Megan said, depending on the events, that's how she can put out there for grants.
Correct.
I also feel somewhat that if we were able to get the shell up and get it started, as people come to the community and start using it, they're gonna wanna find ways to finish it and help
Oh, yeah.
do that.
It'll grow.
Mhm.
We found that with our existing building, we weren't sure if we would have more than just 4-H activity there, but we found that a lot of people rent it for different things. I mean, we've even had funerals out there, as Gilbertson's rents it for that, and they do that, but family reunions, motorcycle gatherings out there.
This 2.3 million, that's including the place to be concrete.
Mhm.
Okay, just track it. That's huge. Imagine that's 80% of the cost.
Everything has gone up in price.
Dennis is pretty solid on this. Decent. I mean, he's pretty comfortable with the figures and everything.
Beth, you been talking?
Yeah, I thought he was going to be here today. What he sent what he gave me yesterday, he said was basically turnkey. He did put a little extra in it in case of some price raising, something right went up. And that was, we talked very briefly.
Yeah.
I think when we originally spoke with him at our meeting in person before going all the way through it, we had a little bit lower number in mind because we were just thinking, let's get the shell up. and get this started and then see. Because with that too, once you start using it, maybe we want things arranged differently or we come up with a little better plan on how to finish it. And at that time, it was a lower dollar amount.
In all reality, I'm pretty impressed with the figure you have here. I didn't think you'd get it off the ground that way. I mean,
He also had said,
Not anymore.
if we don't insulate it right away, it is not as costly.
He did mention too, the insulation he put in this bid was, pretty good. I mean, it was better than, it wasn't the minimal.
Yeah, he'll do it right.
One thing too, I think with this type of building, you know, electrical and that type of thing is typically ran through conduit and that, so it can always be added. If it's not adequate, you can add it like a house or it's in the walls.
Well, I think the proposal looks good. I mean, I really do. I think you're on the right road. I'll make the motion, we support it as a commission. I don't think we need to put a dollar figure on it yet, but
I think we need to.
I think these people are looking for our support, so we need to show that.
I'm in full support of it also. I second that motion.
Would that be sufficient to get things moving in the right direction, do you think, or would you like dollar amounts committed?
Megan, do you think, is there any reason that we would need to be able to say we have this amount in order to receive eventually more grants? Or?
I do know that one of the main questions that you always go through with an Otto Bremer Trust site visit is how much money have you raised so far? Because sometimes foundations, especially when it comes to capital projects, because you know, communities might not reach their goal or they might not come to fruition. They always ask how much money have you raised so far as an indication of that community support. So I do think it is something, you know, having that commitment of funding that would be beneficial when completing grant applications. So yes, I do think it would be beneficial, but I don't want to push or persuade anyone today as well, but it would be beneficial.
So in our regard, would it be beneficial for us to know how much they can put up on the table before we send them out? Don't you think? I mean, it'd be nice to know what we could raise so that we don't short it either. Let's say tomorrow you come up with 1.6 million. You know, and all of a sudden we say, well, we're gonna give you 500,000, and you're short, you know? Are we better off to see what we can come up through the community? I mean, it has to be a quick turnaround, you know? So that we don't short the fair board, or what do you guys think?
Well, I think,
One thing about it, one way to look at it is the fair board's under the county,
Right.
you know, so we cover it. You know, we give them our support, and I hope Megan's, you know, understanding is that once the government puts their, you know, their will behind the project, you know, they're on hook for it. I'd like to see a lot more money raised, yes, absolutely. We could take all our ARPA money, we still wouldn't have enough.
Right.
I mean, there's other places we should put some of that ARPA money too, or we're gonna go back and have to hit the taxpayers to pay for radios, some other things that we talked about. But they're a 501c. I don't see a problem giving them, you know, I don't wanna say the figure, but I feel we have to agree on it. But I think as far as getting grants from other entities, you know, our private sectors with the government behind it, I don't think you'll have any problem that way. Because Ramsey County's on the hook if we put our name on it, so.
Megan, could I ask the question of, are the Otto Bremer grants or any of the grants that you're looking at, do they have deadlines, or are they like rolling application dates, or how exactly do those function, so we would have an idea of, you know, when we're looking at getting some grant dollars possibly, or knowing what the funding is?
So Otto Bremer Trust, they do have, I believe, 5 deadlines per year, and there should be one coming up either the end of April or the end of May. And if you allow me just 2 minutes here. Alrighty, we've got one coming up on April 14th that we could definitely submit for, or the next application deadline would be June 16th. If we applied for the April 14th deadline, we would have a decision by July 27th. If we applied by the June 16th deadline, we would have a decision by September 28th. So those would be the 2 deadlines that we would be hoping to target with this particular application. When it comes to other grants like USDA Rural Development, I need to go back to my records and do a little bit more digging and make sure that we hit all of the criteria. But Otto Bremer Trust, we've got one coming up in a couple weeks and one coming up in 2 months.
Okay, thank you.
We want to break ground this year.
I just,
That
yeah,
don't tell us much.
yeah.
Well, 27th of July for determination on the first application. That starts putting things way late.
Yeah, I think where they're looking at either something really late fall where you can get going on it, maybe shell it, or you're talking probably next construction season. Because by the time, because you guys aren't gonna be able to give Gleason a firm until you know you got the funding in place. And you're not gonna know that if we're relying on possible grant funding coming through.
And we should know from Gleason if the grant money was to come through in September, is it something that he can?
Yeah.
Is it something that he can do too? You know, I don't know what the time frame of putting something like this up. You know, I don't know what kind of crew he has. I mean, is it a 30-day project? Is it a 60-day project? You know, maybe it's something that he can do in 30 days, but that's something that we would have to have him involved in. I would hate to push this so fast and then we not receive as much grant money as possible. I mean, don't you guys agree?
Yep.
And not say, I'm 100% in support of it. I just don't want to fall short and now we have to downsize the building 100 to 100 and that's not what we're shooting for. We're shooting for this building so that we can maximize the events that we want to do.
I don't think that would meet the needs.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. We want to maximize every bit of money as possible.
All right.
You know, is it something that we're gonna have to use ARPA money and then something like you had said before we did with the library where they borrow the money? You know, and that's something as a fair board, we're gonna have to decide that also. You know, how far do you want to stick your neck out? If we can't raise a certain amount of dollars.
Search and rescue, that's how we built the whole building.
Search and rescue.
Borrowed the money.
Yeah, we borrowed the money.
Took it out of the general and paid it out. The county has the ability to borrow the money if they want. That option is there. But grants are much better.
I know I can't talk for everybody sitting here, but I think there's pretty much a support for it. I see a lot of head nodding.
Yeah. I like the concept. It's just a matter of figuring out exactly what we can get from, you know, private entities through fundraising and then what we can get through grant funding. And, you know, once we have a little clearer picture, you know, in a month or two, hopefully, you know, put together a plan on, you know, maybe there's, you know, different levels of giving or whatever like that, more of a solid plan that way. We can maybe figure out, okay, we want $300,000 in grants and we're hoping to raise $500,000 from the community. And then we know what we've got left that we've got to figure out how to fund. Whether it's through a mix of ARPA dollars and, you know, just putting it on the general every year off a loan or something like that. I mean, I know you guys want to get it done as quick as possible, but at the same time, I think we have to have a timeline that's going to work, you know, from the standpoint, I mean, because we've gone 15 years without one now. So if we have to wait till next construction, next spring or whatever, you know, to make sure we do it right, I think that's, you know.
Let's hear from the group on how do you think the fundraising will go? I know there's other projects in the city going on.
Yeah. I think our 4-H alumni are gonna support this project. And we plan on asking businesses also to support it. And I think that because of the range of people that we're gonna affect with this building, I think we'll have good community support.
Are you more likely to get, support, through fundraising activities if you have a commitment dollar wise? Hey, you know, if we had a base that you're gonna get from, know that you're gonna get from the Ramsey County, would that make fundraising easier? That this project, we're committed to this project moving forward and Ramsey County's committed X number of dollars.
I think it would, because it would show the community that the commissioners are supporting our activities, and that always helps get fundraising going.
We have a motion and a second right now, to just simply issue a statement of support without a dollar amount. Is that something that you'd like to amend, Commissioner Brown?
One more thing to say, nobody brought it up yet. We had 600 4-H projects go to the state fair last year. 600. I don't want to mock anybody, but there was a neighboring county had 26. 4-H is very, very strong in our community, very strong. We have some excellent, excellent leaders that are volunteering their time. I mean, if you want to warm up a presentation to a bank, an individual, a business, I think I'd start off with that. I don't want to tell you how to say it, but you'll talk better than me anyway. I just amazed at all the things, projects that go up there from this county to the state fair. I've been there numerous times over the years, and I was up there twice last year, and anxious to go every time. It's kind of tough to get home some nights, but I seem to make it in the dark. But it's an excellent learning device for those kids. Just excellent. I mean, 600 projects, that's a lot. And put a few dollars in a building for them to have their fair and bring in neighboring counties to have more fairs if you want. And it's just excellent, you know. I see horse riders up there, I see all kinds of things. I'll amend my motion to put $1 million on it. Can I get a second for that?
I would second that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And just as a point of clarification, with that $1 million fee.
ARPA money. ARPA money, yeah.
So that's, I mean,
Yeah, slightly less.
Okay.
We do.
Does that
There was not.
give you a head start on fundraising?
Yes, it does.
It will?
That would.
It does.
The state's attorney just made mention that, because we have an ARPA funds committee, it may be appropriate to flow through that committee. I don't know that will change anything, because ultimately, I mean, in the long run, I don't think it'll change anything, because this commission has final budgeting authority on that, so.
Well, and I think it's reasonable to say if we want to put a dollar figure on it, that's fine, and then we can determine how we want to fund that dollar figure off of our side of things. If we say we're gonna commit X amount of dollars, then we say, okay, whether it's ARPA, whether it's we do half ARPA and we do a portion of it like we did search and rescue, you know, we can determine on our side of things how we think we'd like to fund it and what the people of the county would think is palatable. Especially.
Ed's motion doesn't say it.
Yeah,
coming.
it's just, we're gonna commit up to that dollar figure and we'll figure out how we're gonna make it work.
Okay, so the finalized version of this motion, just to make sure that we've got it right, is Ramsey County is committed to funding this project up to $1 million. Sources of funding and details to be determined as we move forward. Is that fair?
That's reasonable.
Okay. Okay, so you're still good on seconding it? Okay, further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Anything else?
We'll come up with a fundraising plan.
Thank you, Megan and Lindsay, for being on the call also.
Yes, thank you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all very much. Is there anything else that the fair board would like to discuss?
No.
I'm not sure if we have another $1 million left.
Probably not.
Okay, well, thank you all so much for stopping
Thanks for
in.
coming in.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Mr. Root, are you ready to go? Yeah, I'm all set. I don't need $1 million. I could use it, but I'm not gonna ask for it. I got three things on the agenda for you guys today. The first one, of course, is our little special EMS response unit that we have discussed before. I've got a nice little cute picture in the back for you guys. It's been approved by Altru as well, and we placed an order for it. We should have it in 10 to 12 months. So we got half of the price for Ramsey County was $31,386.50. Did you get a? You didn't get a.
I got it. I got everything.
You got a black and white? How did you get black and white? Yeah, I thought I had a color real quick. Oh, I gave you guys a couple of them. Okay, I just want to make sure you guys had it. So that was, we had discussed it before, the half of what Altru was gonna raise. So, Altru was gonna give us a check for $31,386. We raised 11,000, and you guys had said you would help with that. So here to present the project to you and see if you continue your support, like you had mentioned before.
So this mini ambulance
This is a mini ambulance.
is more like for the town stuff or?
It's for the whole county, it's for everything. Towns can be for football games. So we don't
Okay.
drive on the track because they get mad when we drive on the field.
Yes.
Search and rescue events, anytime we go on the ice, our ambulances are way too heavy to go on the ice, so we'll use this for the ice.
It'd be really useful for that.
Yeah, and then with White Horse Hill, any type of accidents, I'll select reservation. Anytime we go to Farmer's Field, we've had problems before where we've had no vehicle. We throw them in the back of a truck and we drive. So this is actually an ambulance.
So is the box itself, is that long enough for a full-size stretcher?
It's full-size stretcher and I can fit 2 of my medics in the back plus the patient, plus all of our equipment.
So basically what's the downside is the vehicle, but the ambulance cost is roughly the same.
Yes, it is. So it's just a little bit smaller for cabinets, but we don't need cabinets, we got bays. So we'll use the bays for all the stuff that we need.
It's just quite a bit lighter.
It's quite a bit lighter, yeah, and it's got a better tilt, so I can take it to more places. Any other questions on that one?
You have your own style pictures.
Oh, yeah, I still have that in my office.
So this is driven to the event, it's not hauled, right?
It's driven, because it goes 60 miles an hour. So we don't go much faster than that with our regular rigs anyways, they're too heavy, they're too top heavy. This is not top heavy, but 60 is its top.
You're gonna have a trailer to haul it around?
No, we're gonna drive it.
50 miles?
We're gonna drive it for 60 miles an hour to work.
No problem.
Yep.
Tires don't look very big.
That's what I'm looking at.
We actually got special tires on there, so if you, on the list on the ads app, I hate saying that, is what the company is called. You can see that we got the top of the line tires, those are not the tires. That's just the lettering on a similar.
Okay. Maybe a little cute.
What's that?
Maybe a little cute.
Well, it's gonna have a little nice little rims on it too.
Looks good.
27-inch tires.
It doesn't look like that in the picture.
No.
Yeah, no, the picture's a lot smaller. So we added quite a bit to what the picture shows, so. Including a winch.
So you've gotten community donations for this,
11,000.
match from Altru.
31,000.
I'll use it.
One of the concerns, Sean, is utilizing taxpayer funds for a for-profit type of entity like Regional Ambulance.
For nonprofit.
You're not profit?
We're nonprofit, 501c3.
Well, then what the heck? Well, I think it's there's a lot of beneficial uses for it. The football fields, on ice, activities that we'd have. Rodeo, for instance, we're planning rodeo this fall. If we get this 4-H building up and operational, we plan on having additional events in there that this could be utilized at and other activities.
I think like, this is what they would bring out to the fire department thing, right? And then you put the kids thing out there instead of bringing the full-size ambulances.
Right, well, we'll still have the ambulance.
On the road,
Yeah,
but this would be what gets them off.
Yeah. And small detail about the special response unit is I don't have to have paramedics in the back. I can use EMTs because of the shortage right now. I can have EMTs go and respond to it, so. It's a lot easier for me to staff the whole thing with EMTs for special events.
Whereas if you take the ambulance, you have to have.
I have to have paramedics.
Well, that's a no-brainer right there. So what kind of money are you looking for?
$31,860.50.
And that's pretty much in line with what we had discussed previously.
Yes, I think it was a little less actually. I think we said 36,000.
This, like search and rescue, I'm sure you visited with them, they don't have any grant funding options for something like this because it's an ambulance versus a rescue unit, I suppose. That's kind of what.
And we're going with search and rescue on this one.
Yeah.
What kind of money do you have from the regular COVID money?
Yeah, I think that's where we take it from.
I think that's reasonable.
I'll make the motion that we cost share the $31,000 and whatever the figure is.
$31,386.50.
And we take it from the previous COVID funds that we have remaining, that we got on the first round of COVID funding.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Just want a roll call? Okay, roll call.
Brown,
Aye.
Britt,
Aye.
Volk,
Aye.
Lightcon,
Aye.
Wakefield.
Aye.
Thank you for that one.
And you, thank you.
I've asked for more. So the Lake Region Training Center, we started gutting it out, started working on it. I did go for the Out of Bremer grants. They no longer will give any money to the first responders at all. They stopped that with the due process 12 to 18 months ago, so we're not able to get Out of Bremer. Did speak with USDA. Ramsey County gets 15% of all the funds, which are due in 30 days, but you have to have 3 bids. So the fair people would have to get 2 more bids before they'd be able to apply for it this year, just to throw that out there. We do not qualify for the USDA grant, but we could qualify for a USDA loan at 2.86%. I talked to the city commission yesterday. We're going to use it for all law enforcement, the sheriff's departments, search and rescue especially is going to be using it. The city police department is going to be using it at the correctional facility. They're going to put the mats there instead of going to the dojo. This is where they're going to have the training. This is where search and rescue will have their meetings on the training there. So it's a big training facility. It's the old ambulance building. We've completely demolished it. The ambulance was donated for about $250,000. What we're asking for. It wasn't like that. But we've gutted it out. I've got 1 bid for it, and the bid for it is roughly around $80,000. I talked with the city yesterday, and they said they'd help us up to half of the cost to get the facility up and running again. Add to it, I've also talked to the auto company, and they're getting rid of the substation just to the north of that. And they have us on the first of the list to get the other property there. So we can have it for storage or for an impound lot or something for law enforcement. Currently, our drone program is stationed there, and that's where they're going to be basically based out of, have their computers and everything there. That's used for our SWAT team as well. So it's used for all of our law enforcement. Fire, not so much, but search and rescue ourselves, and it's 4 counties. But even with 4 counties, we can only get 15%.
but they denied us the 15%. So I'm asking for support either for going for a loan. One thing to add though is we did also just get okay to do non-charitable gambling. We're applying for the license and I have a site already. So we're looking to use that to basically become self-sufficient over the years. We have 4 counties, so we're gonna go for all 4 counties to try to get sites.
Try to get sites.
I got 1 already, and then I gotta try to get some other ones.
And you're not in that business right now?
I have 1 site possibly, that's pretty sure. And then we're gonna start going around looking for other sites.
Be careful.
I know. This one has never had it.
Get your
before.
checkbook out.
Yeah,
Very expensive.
yep.
There's gonna be more regulations coming down from the state too.
And that's unfortunate.
July 1.
Maybe we should look into it.
Putting in 4 roving checkers going around the state.
So you're looking for a commitment for up to $40,000 for this training
For the
facility?
training facility, yeah. Or maybe if you guys think we should go for the loan, USD loan at 2.8%, 86%, and see if we can get self-sufficient and start paying it.
I try that first.
I needed your approval before, but basically, like you said, for support. That really helps them out to say that we have support from both county and city, and then we can go for the loan.
For this training center.
For the training center, yeah.
And that's multi-jurisdictional,
It's 4 counties,
sheriff, search and rescue, all that kind of good
city
stuff.
fire, road fire,
So then that's gonna bring.
SWAT team, drone team. For training, yeah, we also talked about having a membership for everybody that's gonna be in there, pay so much to be in there, especially for the training that's coming in.
So it's gonna create.
It's gonna create income. Not as much as the fairgrounds, but it'll create some income.
So do you just need a motion from this commission that we support the
Yes.
training center, or do you need it to state a dollar amount, so then you have that as backing for the loan? You just need a motion.
I just need a motion so that I can go ahead and look for that USD loan, and then we can try to get more funding for that when the time comes. We need to get that up and going right now. So we had to completely redo the whole inside.
I make that motion that we support the training facility.
Second. There's a motion and a second to support the training facility. Any further discussion?
One question, do you have support of the city?
City's just gonna give us a half.
Yeah. That was easy. That makes it short.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion is carried.
Last thing, less pleasant, just got back from Edmore last night, we're talking about the closure. Move it a couple slides. So I've been going with all of the different agencies that surround Edmore EMS, Park River, Landon, Munich, and just the different distances away it's gonna happen. Right now, I can get Edmore to stay on. I'm going to state tonight actually. We'll be speaking to the state about let them have emergency operations. They can have emergency medical responders, not just EMTs, take calls.
They've got people that will do that?
They have a couple that can do that. I'm gonna go up there and do an emergency class. I've got 4 people that are interested in becoming EMTs, but it's not gonna work. We're putting a Band-Aid on something that's just gonna continue to hemorrhage. So this is something that we're gonna have to look at for the future. I've talked about it before about tax districts. It's coming down to that we're gonna have to start paying for EMS. We pay to get our garbage removed. We're not paying for somebody to come take care of your family. There are mill levies that other agencies use. Ramsey County, we've never taken anything. Edmore is in Ramsey County. I was there last night. They have no computers. They're supposed to be on this ESO program we use for all of our documentation. They've got an old smoke-filled Apple green screen computer in the corner, and they don't know how to use it. I've got a list of things I'm gonna go up there and help them with. I was gonna try recruitment. I'm gonna go up there for training. It's gonna be emergency training to keep them alive. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you, is there other people that want to get this up to date? Will come in and help? You know, I would probably say the younger generation, but
That was actually who decided that they were gonna volunteer, but the farmers.
farmers.
They're all farmers and they can't do anything during harvest or anything like that. They're stuck. We're not gonna have them get off the combine to come run into town real quick, 20 miles away. So one thing that I would look at is the whole state is looking at, not just levies from the county, but tax money as well from sales tax. We're looking at license plate money and we're looking at registration. We're looking at quite a few things from all the way up to the state level.
There's gotta be other areas in the state that are having this problem. I mean,
Rock Lake's about ready to close. I talked to Munich's about ready to close.
got any solutions there?
Walhalla. I did, you can go ahead and pass it, a couple of slides there. This just goes over the distance when we were talking about how far we are. Here's where we are right now. So Ramsey County, you can see that Lake Region Ambulance Service pretty much covers all of Ramsey County, except for a few little slivers. I did take Lake Alice away from Towner County, because basically we can be there a lot quicker. It's in Ramsey County. I'm kind of selfish, I want Ramsey County. So I didn't want Towner to have anything. And then right on the top there, we're taking that little sliver that they, for some reason, there was a farmer that didn't like Devil's Lake or Munich. So they gave him a sliver that went to Towner County, so we took that away. Don't really have a choice in the matter. That's very confusing with this map of where we are. Go to the next one, please. Here's the proposed one. With Edmore being in the shaded red area, and them closing, this is where all the EMS are coming from. Munich, like I said, is about ready to close. I'm gonna help them out, I'm gonna be helping out Edmore as well. I helped out Dakota last summer and they just hired their first EMT. And they're gonna have a paid volunteer service. Michigan went with Macville and became a paid volunteer service. Langdon is a paid volunteer service at this time. Walhalla is about ready to close. What we're looking at doing is trying to get these guys trained as fast as possible, and then trying to get a paid volunteer service. Looking at those areas by 2025, where they're going to try to make it a law that you have to have so many miles before you can have an ambulance or a quick response unit. So you can see by that map that there's far too big of an area for any of these other agencies to cover.
Young people don't wanna step up and be EMT?
No, the training is just astronomical. 220 hours just to get your certification, then you have to have some continuing education hours every year. I'll give you an example. Myself, I have about 720 hours every year of continuing education just to keep my license up.
Well, that and have all the proper equipment and everything is extremely expensive and getting more expensive all the time.
Yeah. I had looked at, sorry.
Train and grant rate.
Right.
Do you have a sense for, say, in that northeastern portion that's now going to be like regional ambulance service, do you have any sense for what your response time is?
45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Well, we're 40 miles to Edmore, so by the time a call comes in, by the time you get the rig on the road, you get out of town and you get rolling, yeah, it's gonna be 45 minutes to an hour before, and if it's out on a farm someplace, out on site, it's gonna be an hour.
Edmore goes to Langdon.
That's way too long.
There are not many reasons to call an ambulance where you've got an hour wait for them to get there and an hour wait for them to get you back.
Well, isn't there, I sat in on the EMT thing down at the Association of Counties a year or two ago, and they said, you said the standard's gonna come in, it's supposed to be so many minutes out or less, correct? What's the minutes again?
25 minutes.
25, that's right. Okay, so that's what they're shooting for, the 25-minute or less response on everything, and
We're double that.
half or 3/4 of the state's gonna be double that, not population wise, but, you know, and any place in the northeast corner of the state's gonna be, I mean, like you said, like in this map you have on projection, Dakota ambulance is gonna go to the city of Edmore. Well, that's still
If you look at the little gray little notch, we gave that to Langdon.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's still 27 miles from Langdon to Edmore, so I mean, you're still talking half hour to 40 minutes, I'm sure, at least by the time you get there and get moved. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is because our whole northeast corner of the state is just less and less people and less and less people, and people have to step up. And like you said, it's just unbelievably difficult to stay trained. It's a huge commitment.
I told Edmore that I'd go up there and help them with their computer program and try to get them a computer so they can use it. They haven't received a payment for one ambulance trip in 3 years because they don't know how to properly bill. They've had their bills set at the same rate for I don't know how many years, so I'm gonna help them with that, try to get some income for that. 25 calls a year is not enough to support an ambulance. It's not enough to buy an ambulance.
Well-
For over 4 years.
They gotta be commended for going out and servicing people, not getting them billed, I guess. Maybe the county will have to look into help them somehow, I don't know.
Yeah.
The ambulance service is willing to help them with that. We spent a lot of time billing, and we know a lot of the ICD-10 codes and all the Medicare terminology and all the Q codes that go with billing. They don't. We're willing to do that.
Well, yeah.
They're part of Ramsey County. We're community service.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ramsey County will.
Goes quite a ways east and north, they had more.
Like you said, 25 calls a year isn't enough to pay for an ambulance, but it sure as hell is a lot of calls that might be a lot of calls that save 20 lives or 25 lives. I mean, that's important to the people that live in that part of the county. I mean, there's just no way around it.
Munich does about the same.
25 doesn't sound like a lot until it's your family.
Yeah, well, and I have personal experience with this. My father-in-law got picked up by the Edmore ambulance when he hit a deer on his motorcycle. He wouldn't be here without the Edmore ambulance. I mean, it's a necessary thing to have.
Has there been any action on this, or are you just sort of informing us?
I'm informing and asking for help. I'm talking to, I'm gonna have to leave here shortly. I'm talking to Representative Armstrong at 10 o'clock, talking to Senator Kramer at 2 o'clock. Senator Hoven is in Bismarck, so I can't talk to him. But I'm going down to Bismarck this week to talk to the state as well. I've got the money for training. I've got the money for continuing education. I'm not only gonna have the classes, I'm gonna have get paid. The classes are paid for at this point too.
I have to sit on the Capitol door every day.
Well, that's kind of what we're gonna have to do. So no, we're talking to them today. What I would like to help with is we might have to start asking for mill levies. Most other counties have gone for it. We won't have that. No, it has to go to the ballot, but we may have to start asking for mill levies. Just to make them paid volunteer services.
One of the things that we should look at, let it be a grassroots thing, let it come from the townships. You know, that's how you're gonna put the mills on, is from each town, you know, from the county to the townships. Let them come with the idea. We should have brought it, well, we did bring it up at the township meeting the other night. I guess we didn't have a lot of answers like we got now, I suppose.
Right.
But that's where it should come from, is the people within the township, you know, where nobody's forcing them to live out there, but if they want this service, then they have to pay for something. I'm not saying all, some of it.
There's areas of our county that don't they're not in a fire district. So they don't even know for a rural fire department.
Right.
So, but yeah, you're right, it should come from a township grassroots type of, and they're the ones that are living out there and governing the place, and
They're the one that have the most government power within that township.
Yeah.
Obviously.
You know, and this is something that probably won't easily wait for 2 years, you know, if this money is so needed. So I'd say get started on it soon if you want it on the general election ballot.
Yeah, I went last night and came today. I know that I would have some questions for you, so looking for some knowledge.
Just out of curiosity, what does it cost on a yearly basis to run, like you said, a volunteer? So you called it
Keep going.
Staff volunteer or something like that? I'm sorry, I got your
Yep.
terminology wrong, but cost of the stuff, they have to look at that.
So this is if we put up a substation between Munich and Edmore, it's not gonna work. Plain and simple, that won't work because it's still 20 miles from every place.
So 20 miles.
Yeah, we're over 20 miles from all these places, so it's not gonna work, especially with the other ambulances and the quick response units shutting down. Munich and Edmore are the ones that have to stay with it.
Yeah, so something like you said, Michigan went to that, and they teamed up with Macville, yeah, what is it costing them additionally every year to run compared to what it did cost them? That's the dollar figure, huh? So we're talking $400,000 basically for salaries.
Yep.
Over the top of what it would have cost previously.
But that is 24 hours a day. You could cut that number in half if they did have paid, half volunteer, which is what most people are doing. So this is what it would cost to have 2 people on 24 hours a day, 7 days.
Basically, we're talking basically every station like at Edmore we want to keep open, we're gonna have to mill levy for $250,000 or something in that range to keep it open. Okay, well, that's a lot.
With the Association of Counties, this was a statewide issue, you know, and that we were trying to make a legislative thing where legislatures would help the state out, so.
How many rural volunteer EMS services are there in the state?
286.
86, so $250,000 on each of those to keep them, if you wanted to do a statewide type of funding structure, at least a portion of it.
In 2025, I'm on the advocacy for the state for this. So yeah, we're looking at 2025 being the end date for everything, and it's taken into consideration a lot of different things.
My math isn't that crisp, so. $71.5 million would take to fund everybody at $250,000 on those 286 a year. It's one of those deals where we've just come to expect the service because we've had it for so long that and we haven't paid for it because it's kind of self-billed, or we've had volunteers and we're running out of volunteers. All of a sudden the bill's gonna come due and you know, figure out to pay for
That's
it.
what Edmore said too. Everybody's just knew that this was gonna be here, so they didn't help.
Well, yeah, I mean, and towns like Edmore, I mean, they've lost population like crazy, and you know, you can only go back to the rock so many times and try to get water out of it. You got a full fire department, they're all helping out on all kinds of boards, and you know, how much more can you ask of them? You try, but it's tough.
Anything more stuff?
Well, and the thing is I think people have to look at it as a holistic structure too. It's not just the people that live in Edmore that are gonna pay for this. It's if you're driving down that stretch of highway and something happens, they're the response unit. So it could be anybody that lives in this area or just somebody that's passing through that might need that ambulance service.
Just want to keep you guys informed with that one. I know that one wasn't as pleasant, but we're gonna keep working on it. I'm gonna try to get as much as I can from the state, and we're gonna try to help them. As of now, they're gonna stay open, and we're gonna try our best to keep them going. So we'll be up there for the next couple of months training and trying to get some EMTs.
We sure appreciate
Yeah,
your
we appreciate that so much.
Well, thank you guys for all the support and continued support. So I hate to,
Yeah.
I gotta put that.
Important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
Well,
time.
thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it.
That's what I was saying, yeah, well, I gotta go talk to them. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next is Kevin.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, just to bring up the date on the weight rooms. They're in effect south of US two, but they have not gone into effect north of US two. I think they're talking about first part of next week. I don't know if it lasts that long. That's when they're anticipating, the state's anticipating.
Tell them the longer the better.
The water's really starting to get all on the road.
They'll try to get that. These next 3 days are pretty crazy.
Yeah, results for the quotes for the compact track loader. Sent you guys all the copies of the results of the bids. Jeff had shot me an email, curious as to why we didn't get an estimate from Leading Edge. To be quite honest, I didn't even know they sold them, but I did ask them for a bid yesterday. I don't know if you guys want to accept it or not. They did shoot me a bid. They went to Sourcewell to get their bid. No, it wasn't from their actual vendors.
And it's a John Deere? No.
It's a John Deere, yeah.
They got it from where, did you say?
Sourcewell? Sourcewell is a company that takes bids from everything from Staples to bulldozers, and then they offer their bidding process to all government agencies to across the whole United States.
It's like a bidding clearinghouse.
Yes, exactly.
What'd they come in at?
Their bid was $64,549.48. You actually have to have a government account to get a contract through them. They were using our government account.
And it had everything that you were requesting?
Yep. Warranty, the only thing is the delivery date was way off because you're competing with multi people to try to get a unit. I think they told me October. For delivery.
So if you were to go with that, then you gotta rent a machine for the summer, so now you gotta take that into factor too.
Right.
So then you're back up to that 70,000 mark.
You want to use it in June, there, Cal?
What's that?
You, the loader or the skid steer?
Yep, we'll have to rent one the first part of June, first or second week of June. To do our soft spots,
If we went with the higher bid, would it be available on time where you wouldn't need to then also rent one?
correct, Caterpillar can get theirs here in the middle of May.